Did you know thousands of people are arrested for the possession and selling of marijuana and serve the same amount of time for manslaughter and robbery? But is the use of marijuana really as severe as manslaughter or robbery? Good morning, Reverend Cavalcante and my fellow classmates. My name is Jessica Triplett, and I am going to talk to you today about the legalization of marijuana. Do you think that the government should regulate what you can and cannot put into your own body? Over the last couple of weeks, I have researched government and political information and have come to the conclusion that marijuana should be legalized. American taxpayers spend between $7.5 and $10 billion arresting and prosecuting individuals for marijuana violations alone. There has never been a recorded death due to smoking marijuana, and marijuana laws have actually increased the use of drugs. Similar to the prohibition of alcohol, marijuana use will most likely decrease once it has been legalized. Many people are under the impression that marijuana is extremely harmful to the body, but in reality, it is no worse than alcohol consumption or cigarette smoking. I'm going to share a few common myths about marijuana gathered from the Americans for Safe Access fact sheet, Myths and Facts About Medical Marijuana. Myth 1. Marijuana causes cancer. A study funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse found that even regular heavy smoking of marijuana does not lead to lung cancer. In fact, marijuana users have actually been shown to have a markedly lower rate of head, neck, and throat cancers. Myth 2. Marijuana is a gateway drug. The Institute of Medicine found no evidence linking the use of marijuana with the later use of other drugs. Rather, it is the effects of prohibition and the interaction with street dealers that provides people with easy access to hard drugs. Myth 3. Marijuana is addictive. The National Academy of Sciences noted that millions of Americans have tried marijuana, but most are not regular users and few marijuana users become dependent on it, including that, although some users develop dependence, they appear less likely to do so than users of other drugs, including alcohol and nicotine. So why are products like alcohol and cigarettes legal, while marijuana, a clearly less addictive drug, is not? Over 300 economists, including 3 Nobel laureates, recently signed a petition that encourages the President, Congress, senators, and state legislatures to consider marijuana legalization in our country. According to an article by Harvard economist Jeffrey Miron, legalizing marijuana would save $7.7 billion each year in government spending on enforcement, in addition to generating $6 billion per year if regulated similarly to alcohol and tobacco. Not only will legalizing marijuana make communities safer, it will decrease the frequency of marijuana usage. According to the New York Times article, Marijuana and Medical Marijuana, the goal of legalization is not to make access to marijuana easier, but rather to make our communities safer by regulating the substance, taking it out of the underground market, controlling it, and better keeping it away from young people. Marijuana legalization creates closure in the sense that potential users would not be dealing face-to-face with unreliable, unpredictable, non-credited dealers and similarly named street thugs who are able to modify their product with whatever they like, whenever they like. Researchers from the University of Washington report that marijuana prohibition has had heavy financial and human costs, yet has failed to achieve its intended goals. Increased enforcement has not produced the government's desired results. The price of marijuana has dropped. Its average potency has increased. It has become more readily available, and use rates have often increased during times of escalating enforcement. However, in accordance to the CNBC article, Why We Should Not Legalize Marijuana, if marijuana was legalized, the increase in users would be both large and rapid, with subsequent increases in addiction. Referring back to the research conducted by the University of Washington, states and localities that have decriminalized marijuana possession passed medical marijuana laws or adopted measures making marijuana use the lowest law enforcement priority have been able to place more law enforcement resources on other public safety issues without any increase in marijuana use. Many marijuana prohibitionists believe that drug-impaired driving will also increase if marijuana is legalized. CNBC reports that in a recent national roadside survey of weekend nighttime drivers, 8.6% tested positive for marijuana or its metabolites. While prohibitionists might mention that THC often appears in blood of people in auto accidents, they often choose to omit the fact that most of those people were also under the influence of alcohol. Therefore, let me leave you with these few closing thoughts. During the time of alcohol prohibition, more and more people were producing and consuming alcohol illegally. Once legalized, however, these illegal activities began to minimize. Who is to say it won't be the same for marijuana? Health-wise, we know that marijuana is less addictive than alcohol, a substance Americans have proudly deemed acceptable. If legalized and regulated, for example, making the age of usage 18 or 21, setting up DUIs for driving under the influence of marijuana, and making it illegal to sell marijuana to minors, it would create a $6 billion industry, similar again to alcohol and tobacco. Keep in mind that almost 72% of the students in this class agree with the legalization of marijuana. 72% of you also agree that you would be more willing to accept legalization of marijuana if it was regulated similarly to alcohol. If you are one of the 24% in this class who do not believe in the legalization of marijuana, I hope this freed your inhibitions at least a little. However, for those of you who are of the 72% mentioned, I urge you to take action. Take the appropriate measures in contacting your local official to express your concerns on the prohibition of marijuana. Thank you, and I will now entertain any questions you might have.